Welcome to the 4th and 4 podcast, sponsored by Inside the Leather Custom Putter Covers. Search Inside the Leather on Etsy. Use promo code podcast at checkout to save 20%. I'm Donald Lawrence. Our guest today is Rolando Casas, who is the wide receiver coach at Westaco East. Welcome to the podcast, Coach.
Don, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Long time no spiel. I know both of us have gotten married since the last time we were together. Kids popping around everywhere.
Oh,
we got to get them together, get everybody together, wives included, have a Royal Rumble.
Definitely, dude. Hey, Intercontinental Championship right there.
I'm down. I'm down. You grew up in a small town in South Texas, La Feria.
Yep.
Take us through that experience, what it meant to play high school football in the Valley.
Man, it was, I guess everybody's watched the movies about it, you know, of what small town football's like, and it's pretty much to the T. I mean, it was a great experience. You know, I try to share those stories with some of the coaches and some of the kids of how it was in that community, you know, and we were the La Feria Lions. So from, you know, when we could walk and talk, we were always, you know, dreaming to become a Lion and playing under those lights in that stadium. You know, we were always Cubs when we were elementary, middle school, and you couldn't wait to become a Lion. And that's what it was, man. You know, football players were the, you know, the talk of the town, and the football games was the thing to do on Friday nights. And it was a great experience.
The fans in the Valley were some of the most passionate fans that I've been around in the state of Texas. Yeah. And on the last podcast, we were talking about fans in the SWAC and how if you're not going to Alabama, you might as well play in the SWAC because of the fan bases you're going to play for. And I had the same experience when we were down there in Brownsville, man. I still remember, I still tell the story of San Benito. You got to walk under the bleachers to get to the locker room. And that experience, man, it is a passionate fan base and a knowledgeable fan base.
Yeah. And it's you know, man, and it's down here, I guess, like everywhere else, but it just seems a little bit more, you're in your own little world down here in the Valley. And it's really a passion, man, a real big passion down here. And, you know, and I tell the story, you know, come two-a-days, you know, we're freshmen going into two-a-days, and your parents would give you the sign of the cross and good luck, survive, you know, and that's what it was.
Right.
And it was, you go back and you let them know, hey, you know, I made it, you know, I made day one. Okay, well, get ready for day two. And it was just something that, you know, it was always a rite of passion, you know, to go and go, man. This is your thing, your time. It's your time now.
What position did you play?
I went in as a quarterback since middle school, man. I was lucky, you know. I guess it wasn't that I was the best one, but I guess I was the one that could throw the ball straight, you know, in the spiral. and it was kind of won the job by default, you know, but and it was an experience, man, because, you know, 7th grade year, you know, we're used to practicing and having the head coach there and the athletic director there and the superintendent there watching, you know, the next bunch of group coming up, and they knew your name. They knew, you know, there's a problem in class or there's something, you know, they're always keeping, tabs, a small community, which it was. And I had a great experience, man, because my coaches as an 8th grader, we had a group move in to La Feria, and it was the Wells, Papa Wells and PJ Wells. And they really pushed us and kind of showed us a different style, a different way of playing the game. And, you know, I was reading hand signs from the sideline, you know, as an 8th grader, you know, the spring of my 7th grade year, you know, practicing that stuff and having to go in front of coach in his office and get tested on those, you know, every game day in the morning. And, you know, before school started, he'll say, come in, you're taking your test and see hand signals and call it and make sure it better be right. And what are you thinking on this play and why not and why this? And, you know, it was awesome, you know. And I didn't realize this until I've gotten older how ahead of the game we were back then, you know, in the early 90s. And that was a great experience.
That is pretty cool, being in a town where you get that kind of investment really as a middle schooler. In a big city, a lot of times your middle school coaches are kind of just volunteers. Yeah. You know, and if I were going to pick a couple things that you'd want the middle school to do, obviously you'd want a perfect scenario, but one of them would be get signals. We signal in high school. Yep. Everything is a signal that's associated with a word that's associated with a play. Knowing how to do that before they get to us would be huge.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, and I didn't know this at the time, but I think, you know, our version of spring football there, you know, at that level, and, you know, and I'm dropping back to throw a ball. And of course I'm zeroing in on my buddy and coach, explaining to me that, you have a sort of tunnel vision going on. What's tunnel vision, coach? Well, this is what's happening. And I said, oh shoot. I had no idea what that was. And, relating to the quarterback position, and so he explained to me about that, about vision, about field awareness. And I was like, okay, and kind of helped me from there.
That's awesome. Who was y'all's biggest rival?
Back in the day it was PI, Port Isabel, the Tarpons. And they were, man, I guess you can look them up through the history of Texas, and they were a heck of a program. And the games that's my dream retirement job, man. Oh. I feel bad for the people that are going to be there, but I want to die on the field coaching the Tarpons. I want to go fishing that morning at 3:30, show up to work at 6, and pass away that afternoon coaching football. That'd be a perfect day. Sunblock still on your nose, coaching on the sidelines?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man. But those, since you were in 7th grade, man, all the way up, that is the game. And it was a great experience, And as we get older, it seems like the crowds get bigger, as our stories go on. But, it was always a good sold-out crowd of, typical high school football, Texas football, with people standing outside the fence watching and people sitting on top of cars watching. And it was a great time to play, man. It was awesome. Great rivalry.
Since I moved away from there, I haven't really kept up with them. But I know I think they went to the state semis a couple times, huh?
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. That was awesome. As a little kid sitting in the stands and watching those games, they're like, oh, I can't wait till the day I get to play in that game, and it was a great experience.
What is your biggest heartbreak playing in high school football?
Probably the PI game, Yeah. And that was the first year they first implemented, if I'm correct, overtime, and we, it was a great game in PI. And we scored. I think I caught a touchdown with maybe 10 seconds left in the game. They put me at receiver.
You threw it to yourself?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's against
I knew
you
were good. I didn't know you were that good.
No, I think we needed a play, and we had a good quarterback, our backup quarterback, but he played defense, and everybody pretty much went both ways at that level. And they put him in and caught a ball in the end zone, tied up. And, we get together with my buddies still, all these, they're always thinking, man, we should just gone for the win, gone for the win. But we didn't. We kicked the extra point, went into overtime, and they scored their first possession. And we get our possession, and our running back fumbles the ball, And he was an underclassman, and he fumbled I guess the first or second play of the game, of the overtime period. And that was it. It was over, And it was a dang one of those, fight to the very end. And, he took it hard, and I said, it happens pretty much, back then. They were going to put it on his shoulders. He was already down himself enough. But I'm glad that the next year, which was my younger brother's junior year, they came back and they won the district title against PI. And that kid had a really good game and, came into his own, so that's probably what it is, man. Because, you grow up saying, I can't wait to beat PI. And, and we had that chance. We were close, and we just didn't do it,
Who was your high school coach?
Well, my high school coach was Gil Ledbetter. And that guy was, a great coach at the time that we needed. Brought a different kind of style to La Feria, a different kind of program. And we all pretty much bought in, hook, line, and sinker, we were in. And then we had Coach Valdez come in as our OC while I was there. And he just brought a different kind of style of coaching to more of a mental way of looking at the game and executing stuff, and it was good, man. It was I'm going to tell you, it was a perfect time for him to come in when he was in. And I was lucky, man. I really was blessed because I had a lot of great coaches that I grew up with in middle school and high school who are now head coaches or big time coordinators or ADs, here in the Valley or throughout Texas. So I really am lucky with the experience that I had at that time.
So we met under Coach Valdez.
Yep.
That was my first job, man. 23, didn't know anything. Didn't know even what I was signing up for, man. I went down to work at South Padre Island to bartend. Next thing you know, I'm at Porter, and it was got lucky. My dad had a connection with him, and that's where we met, man. The Big Bopper.
Yeah, heck
Big Bopper. All right. What has he meant to you as a coach, And then was your first job at LaFerrier working for him?
No. My first job was in San Antonio. So I was working
Okay.
in San Antonio, and I was coaching up in San Antonio. And I remember I got a call from him. I was on my way to work, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, Rollie Casas, what's going on, coach? How you doing?" Just, small talk. He's like, "Well, how would you feel about coming down to the southernmost point of Texas, pretty much?" And I was like, "Well, what school?" He's like, "Brownsville Porter." He goes, "It's going to be a hell of a challenge, and I can't promise you it's going to be a smooth transition, a smooth ride." And he had told me that Shane, he had just hired Shane on, and
Right.
Shane and I played together at Texas Lutheran, and so I knew what Shane was about, and and we'd been friends for a while. So I said, "Man, it sounds like a heck of an opportunity." I said, "Yeah, why not?" So here I am in San Antonio, single, coaching, finally making a little bit of money and living the life to take my first varsity job, and it was the best decision I ever made. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that was the second link was getting Shane's approval, and I just so happened he had been a coach at TOU, so that was kind of the final piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
I need to get him on the show. By the way, I got a chance to talk to him this past year at coaching school.
Yep.
That dude's full of wisdom.
Oh, he is, man.
Man, he's got some deep thoughts.
Yeah, he does. And it was good to see him, man. It had been a while since we've been together, and it was good to catch up with him. And, I guess when we all saw each other last there, so it was a good time. Yeah. And he, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so it's just funny. It's funny, and that was some of the story the other day. One of the coaches asking me what my first job was in Nevada. I said, "Yeah, man, Porter." I said, "Man, I ended up actually almost going into Mexico on my way to my interview to Porter, I missed the exit, and I'd never been there, and ended up at the dang bridge." I said, "Well, this can't be it, I said, "No, man, you got to turn around." "Oh, all right, good to know, and I finally found my way there, but it was it's a funny story how I ended up there.
I loved my experience there, and mainly because of you and Shane and
Appreciate it.
what I learned from Coach Valdez.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that he taught me, I use today, and I plan on implementing one day throughout a program.
Yeah.
One of the biggest takeaways I took from him is in his position, he didn't have a class, right? So when we did our lockers, and it was alphabetical to make it easy for attendance, and as coaches are busting their butt trying to get down to get changed, he's the one in there taking attendance. He's the one in there making sure guys are shaved. He's the one in there make sure people are on time, and he's the one holding everybody accountable before the day ever starts.
Yep.
That was
all in, man. That guy
valuable
was
lesson.
Real valuable lesson. And I'll tell you what, man, and having a history with Coach Valdez was kind of, it was one of those where Coach, we could kind of speak, as kind of equals at some point, at some time, If Coach, this is what I'm thinking, and this or that. And I thought, we're all right. And I do remember where a humbling experience, man, was, I think it was our first year there. We're breaking down film Saturday morning, and we're in there, and it was probably us all offensive staff together watching the film at that time. And Coach Valdez comes in, freaking like a big old bear, just knocking the door down, coming in just upset. It's like, "Coach, what's going on?" He was like, "Who had laundry last night?" "I did," and I forget what other coach I was paired up with. And I was, I was thinking, well, I wasn't late. I wasn't, "Who had laundry?" "Coach, I did." "Was, don't you think these kids sacrifice enough the night before throughout this program where they deserve to have dry clothes when they show up in the morning?" I was like, "Oh, I forgot to put it in the dryer this morning, and to the littlest detail, man, and it made me feel so small, and here you thought you finally had your coach's confidence and you get a little more responsibility and, kind of speak your mind a little bit to him. And he made you realize, hey, this ain't no dang, half-ass job. You got to do it every day to the fullest. And that made me, man, and I still use that today, and I try to use it today. Just the littlest details, man, you can't overlook. And even there's no ill intention. It was just, one of those that I just overlooked. And you got to make sure you go through your checklist every day you're on this job.
He gave me my first ass chewing. I guess that's part of being your first head coach.
Yeah.
I had made a crucial error, big mistake, completely overstepped my boundaries. we had 6 offensive linemen on the varsity.
Mm-hmm.
One of them gets hurt and can't play. So that was I don't know if you remember this, but that was a game, I'm like, well, we got to have a backup. So little Tank, I think Tank was a sophomore. Like, hey, man, we're going to need you up this week, and didn't go through the proper channels. Like, I think maybe I had mentioned it or brought it up to Shane, and it never got to Coach Valdez. Oh, man, he was hot. The only person that moves people up and down is me. What in the hell are you doing? Man, that was a very PG version of the conversation, but I got the point, and I've never forgot that lesson. The only person that moves people in and out is the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make that call, and don't make that threat either.
Yep. So it's one of those, man. Those are lessons that we carry with us to this day,
Right. Absolutely. If someone were going to describe your players using one word, what word would you choose?
I would say, selfless, and I've always tried to coach that way at whatever position I'm coaching, either quarterbacks, receivers, or anything. It's always, to me, as a person and athlete, and as a position coach, it's always been everything that we do is for the greater good of not just the offense, but the team and the program as a whole. That's just the way I've always seen it. And that's what I've always tried to relay to my kids. And hopefully it sticks, but I think for the most part, that's how we conduct ourselves and that's how we work, and that's the effort we give on the field. It takes a little bit longer with some teams and some kids to get to that point, but the end goal is for them to have that for each other, and for the program.
That's great coming from a receiver coach for the most of my career being a line coach.
Yeah.
That kind of comes with the territory. Those guys know that. And it's the skill guys that block in the third level that create the long touchdown runs and things like that. Taking the ego out of that position is incredibly valuable for the team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those, man, where it's kind of put things into perspective of you get your one shot. You may get your one shot at a ball. All these drills, you may get your one shot in a game at a ball coming your way. You better make the best of that opportunity, whatever you got to do. And one of those where you think you're hurting, if you think you're hurting at that position, think about the 5 guys that are freaking contact every play, and who are lucky to make it through every rep, without blowing out a knee, an ankle, or anything, with how violent it is in the box. I said, so, the least we can do is give everything we got for them, and it's funny you mentioned that because that's how it should be.
My mind instantly went to what you were just talking about, getting a ball, but how does that translate into off season, right? The work in the dark, everything to prepare for the season, the weight room aspect, the speed and mobility aspect. Does that carry over?
Yeah, it carries over, because it's one of those where it seems like nowadays it's a lot easier to quit on things than see them through, and it seems like a lot of, and I'm just not knocking anybody, but just observing it. At the strain, once you feel a little bit of strain, it's easier to back off instead of working through the strain, or they're going to try to take the long way to get to the strain, before they have to feel it, instead of going to that level every single rep, every single set. And so I try to implement that within the weight room, any extra drill you can do and the sacrifice you can do to come in before and stay after when everybody's packing up, ready to go home. What can I do? Have I checked every box every single day to make sure that I got myself prepared and ready to give myself the best opportunity to be successful during the season? So that's kind of what we try to bring every single day.
That's one of the hardest things to teach to kids is to embrace going to that territory. You called it the strain, the territory of suck, where you got to go there. You got to create a map. You got to understand how you feel, what you felt like when you got there. And when you come back, understand I can navigate that territory and I can go further. Yeah,
exactly.
It's the only way you get to do that is you have to do difficult things. You have to do things that make you tough.
Yeah.
Right? And you're 100% correct. A lot of people, there's other options. They just haven't been taught at home that's a good place to be. You want to go there, get out of your comfort zone. And, COVID absolutely just kept kids on the couch for 2 years almost.
Oh, yeah.
And so trying to get that back from them. and gradually taking them there further and further and further has been an interesting challenge in the coaching profession.
Oh yeah, man. It's 100%. And not just that, but as a parent as well, and cause it's hard to, it's easy to fall into the little routines also at that time. And to try to go against the current on that stuff, it's always tougher. And so, as a parent and as a coach and I guess the old cliche, I treat my kids at school, and my athletes just like I treat my own kids, but it's the truth. And you got to have it. And they got to see that you're fully invested in them, because they're making a sacrifice, coming out and it's called extracurricular, it's a sacrifice to do it. That's that extra that you're putting in to, whatever you're doing, whatever your motivation is, to represent yourself, your family, or community in your school. That's what the ultimate goal is. And either what reason it is, they're there for that reason. So, the most we owe them is to give them everything we got every day.
Absolutely. Roger that. What is something now you wish you knew sooner?
Man, I think it's sometimes less is more, and that's the old coaching thing, the old KISS method pretty much. And I think as coaches, and just speaking of my own experiences, as I learn the game and get, excited about learning the game more and more every other detail of the game and getting into that, you kind of, and just speaking as offensive coach, you start thinking about, man, well, what if this, and why can't I do this with this, and you end up going through a rabbit hole of an offense and you forget what got you there, or forgot what got you there. And now you can't find your way back. So you're thinking, okay, well, now I can do this. At the end of the day, it's, as I've gotten older, it's been, what can my kid handle? What can my kids handle? What are they comfortable doing? And I think, an early part of my career, it was more of what I've learned and what I can do, what I think is a great idea, which, at the end of the day isn't necessarily translate to success.
Yeah, that's the hardest part about being on offense. You see so many things, especially now, right? With social media, there's so many cool things you see. You get to see clips of almost every awesome play that happened on Saturday and Sunday throughout the season. And then you got to be able to put it in. You got to be able to explain it to your guys in your language. If you're talking to quarterbacks, what the read is, right? Pre-snap, post-snap, what you're looking at. And then after all that, you got to block it.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing people miss is we put all this time into this concept, this play or whatever. Can we block it?
Yeah, exactly.
So I agree. Keep it simple. Less is more. I think it's easier to teach kids where to stand.
Yeah.
Right. So pre-snap, motion, whatever, but the general concepts and what you're looking at is a lot, simpler. Yeah. Right. Dumb that down a little bit. And that's something I've gotten a lot better at. I used to be pretty much 3x1, 2x2, and we carried a lot of stuff. And now what we carry has shrunk down, and all the different variations where people stand and how they move before the snap has changed.
Well, and I think, and not just from an offensive point of view, but I've tried to apply it through my whole system as a coach in my program. My program meaning receiver program, quarterback program. I think that I've kind of, my foundation, my value is still the same, but I've found a different way, a different avenue to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish within that position group. And that's what I mean. Sometimes less is more. And at the end of the day, man, they're kids. And they got to enjoy their experience. They only go through this ride once in their life, and I think as an early coach, a younger coach, I don't say early, but younger coach, early in my time in this profession, it was a little more, I don't know, different. It was different. My approach was different. So I'm trying to find a way to kind of, and I'm still experimenting with it, with that. You never find a perfect recipe, man, and so I'm constantly learning every single day and trying to pick up here and there from different coaches, different programs, and mentors of, how can I get my message across in a different avenue, a different way. So yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, I've been kind of coming to terms with this throughout the years with, hey man, this is where the direction I need to go, to get there. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wish I would have known back then. The famous last words, things might have, things might have.
Hey, y'all, watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Rollie, watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
You just talked about your position group primarily throughout your career, quarterbacks, receivers.
Yeah.
What is a short phrase or a set of words or something you use where your players know, like, I need to lock in, I need to refocus, or I understand exactly what coach is saying?
Yeah. Well, I'll always be, I guess, I'm more of a dial-in kind of guy, dial in, and my thing is, and my little phrase is fundamentals to never let you down, and I understand that, you may have the best fundamentals and the best technique in the end of the day, but at the end of the day, the guy may be better than you. Simple as that, and you may lose it and lose the rep. Okay. But to me, the fundamentals will at least get you in the fight and keep you in it for as long as possible until just, things just work out the way they do. So that's kind of my thing is the fundamentals to never let you down. As long as you keep that as your core, as your base, then you can build from that, and that's, and the big one too also now is, and I like it, I don't know if it's the Nick Saban, the old just trust the process or, where it came from. Trust the process. Don't worry about the end result right now. Let's just work on the process, and little things that even though we might not have executed the play, we got something positive out of it, and that's what I want. That's where I'm headed right now, or the way I've always been pretty much.
Right. The process is all about focusing on what's happening right now.
Yep. And the fundamentals will never let you down.
All those right nows will add up.
Oh, yeah, man. And the fundamentals will never let you down,
Yeah. The dial in, man. I don't know about that one. How many kids today have dialed in?
Nope. That's tough, man. They really don't get it. Sometimes it's a little over their head, and it's so it's one of those where it's, and I love it because you're teaching them a new way of thinking, a new way of, and something they can use and build on from themselves, and say, hey man, this is what I got now. And that's what I loved about, going back, if you don't mind, going back to the Porter days is, my position group. And man, we had some renegades in my position group there at the receivers at Porter. But I loved it because I asked them, do you want to play receiver? Coach, yes. Yeah, I play receiver. I said, but do you want to learn how to play receiver? That's the two different things, So I know I had this old VHS film, and you were probably in there at the times when I'd show it to the kids. It was a receiver. I think I dubbed it off of NFL films or something, and it was just perfect timing, man. It was just the evolution of the receiver, the wide receiver. And it showed from the very beginning of the position to what it was and what it takes to play that position. And some had never seen that, they never knew, oh man, this is what it is. Sometimes I went out to go across the middle and get my head taken off, make the catch, and just all different things like that. They see it and they see the attitudes of why receivers are successful and why receivers aren't, So it's throughout the years, I hope I still have it. I hope my kids didn't film some kind of cartoon over that little documentary I have there, but it's somewhere there, VHS, thing of the past.
Yeah, dial in. Just the ability to focus nowadays with all the distractions. That's one thing to start when I start talking about that concept of dialing in.
Yep.
I start with, this is probably the only time of the day where you don't have your phone attached to your hip.
Oh, yeah.
You're in our gym clothes or you're in your football uniform. We're getting ready to go to practice. This is how you do it.
Yep.
You're not distracted. So I think that's a skill, and that's a skill that you have to teach those guys not only to be successful in football, but also off the field, how to get their work done, how to organize their day, those type of things.
Yeah, exactly, man. You're right on with that.
So let's go back to those renegades at receiver at Brownsville Porter, man. In 2008, what a year.
Yeah.
We got Brownsville Porter into the playoffs. I think the Padilla poll had us picked to lose to San Benito by 37 points or something like that. We beat them. We were down 35-7 at halftime to Brownsville Hannah, 143-35. What an amazing year. That was probably the most fun I had coaching. Take us through that season. What do you remember best about that team?
Well, I think, man, and you'll agree with me that they were just a tough team. They were a tough team. They were they were a team that just needed just a different direction of how to play the game, and they were such a hard-nosed kind of kids naturally that I don't think they realized about that it's okay to care for your teammate as well. And I remember what you did, Don, and in the off season of their junior year, and doing setting up their little activities after school and just different team building activities, and that went a long way, man. And I'm sure I was giving you plenty of compliments over that, but that was something that and no knock on the staff that was there before us at all, but it was just I don't know, maybe they had that intention, they just didn't know how to get there. Maybe I'm not sure, but what you did there and to kind of get them out of their shell, man. To kind of, and the tough guys in our group or our team, for them to want to go do that stuff, because they enjoyed it. And the little thing to just doing a little relay race that you set up, which now you see all the way, all the time on social media with off season, it's, I think that was something huge for those kids that they needed, man. And that's what it was, man. Once they finally gave into the process pretty much, and it's okay, man, to be vulnerable and to show that you care. It doesn't make you any less of the machismo man down here. And once they bought into the system, man, it was just off from there, dude. And they all were hungry to learn their position, to play hard for each other. And I think it's and I may be butchering it, but I think he had a left tackle. And I don't know, I don't know what his name. I'm not sure, but I think he was a security guard also. And after Friday night games, he'd go work a security job, and then be there on Saturday mornings. So it's one of those things, man. I think we went into that season. We made it through that season with 34 kids at the most, or 38 maybe. And so, being able to experience that at that time, now it's kind of been like, don't tell me it's not possible. I've seen it. I've seen when you're really all in, what you can accomplish or what a group of kids can accomplish, so it was a special season, man. And I think they were willing to work hard. They might not have loved it, but they did it. And because they wanted, they want a different outcome for their senior year, man. They're just tired of being the doormat, of the district and of the Valley. And they did it, man. We're just fortunate to have great kids at that time.
That was an amazing journey. I remember getting the Dia poll for the first time. I didn't know anything about Brownsville Porter. Mm-hmm. And I think we were second to last. We were like 241st my first year. Yeah. And then I remember thinking like, man, we got these kids. We're going to be fine. We go out and play McAllen High. First game, my first year, we lose 53-17.
Yeah.
Big Bopper throws his shoe across the room, because he said they were the most uncomfortable shoes he's ever had on.
I think
they hit the wall. And the paper from the toe comes out of his shoe. Like, man, why'd you wear your shoes with the paper on all game, man? What are you doing?
I think, Don, I think after that game, though, we were all sitting around just in our socks because our feet were killing us in those shoes. Oh, man.
And, man, to go from that and then go 2-8 to 6-5 and get those guys in the playoffs, and it was, there was like a little parade. A radio came out and interviewed our kids. Our starting quarterback also played safety. He was Valley Utility Player of the Year. Yeah. Offensive MVP of the district and first team safety.
Yep.
Our running back was first team, both sides of the ball. Yep. I know we had another one of your receivers. I think maybe it was Danny or somebody that helped play corner.
Yeah.
That was a Sal. Sal played some secondary from receiver.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, the story I told earlier, we had 6 offensive linemen for the year.
Yeah. Talk about Hardnose right there, man, to make it through. And I remember my parents coming out one Saturday practice, preseason, going into the senior year, and sitting there and watching, just hot as, it felt like, famous last words, 105 degrees, but it was hot. And, not a blade of grass anywhere on our practice field. And we were going hard, and my parents were just telling me afterwards, just like, God, that's tough. I was like, we have to take them there. They got to get to that point. Every practice, they got to go like that, for us to have a chance. And it
was good on good.
Yeah.
I mean, there were no scouts. We were the scouts.
Yeah.
I think I had to play some scout quarterback.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you kept track of your percentages too. Your passing yardage and your down.
I still got them. They're in a Windows 07 Excel file.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for the compliment as far as the team building stuff.
Yeah, man.
I had forgotten about some of that. I'm glad you reminded me of the relay race and stuff.
Yeah, man.
And what was kind of unique and special, I was an outsider down there. There weren't too many people that looked like me. Mm-hmm. And I really looked up to you, Shane, and Coach Valdez, and just have this 23, 24-year-old kid be able to put something together like that in the offseason without worrying about failing.
Yeah.
Because I think that is something that affects young coaches now, and it affects the kids. Like everything that they've done is kind of, it gets videoed and stuff like that. If they fail, people put them on blast on social media and stuff. You can't be afraid of failure.
No, man. The two things, right? The famous last words of the fear of failure and the fear of judgment, and that's what holds them back and holds pretty much everybody back to a certain extent. But yeah, Don, I mean, I think what's awesome was that what the kids saw was, as our coaching group, and not just the new coaches, but the coaches that were still there on that staff, that we all came together, man, and we're all pulling in the same direction. We weren't pulling against those guys. We're all, the kids, we were all pulling the same direction, and we were all, we were going, and we came together as a staff. And I think the kids, every team appreciates when their coaches, are meshing well and they're blend, and they have chemistry, and that just spills over into the team and the program, and we're all working towards the same goal, and fighting for the greater good of the program, man. And that's what it was. And I think that was a big difference there too.
That was a fun ride. Everything, the Economides game where we had, it was rain and we were delayed.
Yeah.
And our kids went out there in pads to warm up. It was so hot. It was preseason. Their kids went out in shorts and T-shirts. Yeah. And I think they were supposed to beat us by like 24 or something like that in the Padilla Bowl.
Came out on them
and our kids were like, they're not putting on their pads.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got after it.
Oh, yeah, man.
That was kind of the start of something special, the San Benito win, and then just getting to the playoffs. And unfortunately, man, we played a tough PSJA North team, beat us, I think, 28-17 or 28-14.
Yeah. Bruce Bush, man.
Bruce Bush, man, running the slot T.
Yeah.
That was a tough matchup, but that was a lot of fun. Since we have parted ways, we talked about it earlier. You're now a father, you're now a husband. What does that mean to you? And has it had any impact or changed your thought process on how you coach?
Man, the thing is, first of all, I love it. I love it. And, we're back in the day, single guys, enjoying the single life and the coaching life. And now being a family man, it's been probably the best thing I've ever done. And I look at my kids every day, and they're just a blank canvas, man, and they're there for us to mold from, the very beginning to every day. Every day is a process, but it's awesome. I just, and I have to pinch myself like, man, I can't, God's blessed me with a great family, great healthy kids, and a wonderful wife that, has stood by me every step of the way. And it's, when sometimes I have to catch myself. It ain't always easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the dang super dad where I'm out there every day. So, I try to be the best I can every day, because that's what they deserve. My kids, my wife is the best version of myself that I can give them every single day. And I've been lucky throughout my career, man. The staffs that I've been on is I've had great mentors who have taught me, what being a father is in this profession is, and how you can have both, and you can do both at a high level if you have your priorities in line. And so I've been really blessed to have that throughout my years in the coaching, the coaching world. I've been blessed to be on staffs where head coaches have been family guys where they're all about family, and you hear the stories, of where it's tougher, sometimes, you're on a staff that, hey man, the priorities are different. I ain't knocking that either, but it's just, I'm just saying, I've just been lucky that I've worked for some great head coaches who have always stressed and, who've done said, hey, family time's important, man. And I need the best version of you to come be the best version of yourself as a coach, so that's what it's about. And I've been blessed to have that opportunity.
Yeah, you ain't lying, because that happened right at the time I was leaving. I could no longer chase you around and make sure you were doing right and take care of you. That's exactly how it went down.
Yeah.
Oh man, well that's awesome. I'm fortunate enough to have worked. I think 1 year, right? With Veronica was there my last year. So man, she's also always smiling.
Yep.
The smile's always happening.
Yeah, man. So, she loved it, man. Like I said, she's a great wife, because I know my youngest, he was actually born on a game night, and I think he was born at 5 o'clock. It was a Thursday game. I think he was born at 5, and kickoff on Thursday night, 7 o'clock. And it's in my I have a great support system with my family, my parents, my brother, and my sisters, and I needed a ride, and our head coach is a coach, you just had y'all just had a child, and it's all right. I said, oh, coach, I have a commitment to you guys too. It's our family. We preach family, right, to our kids. So, and my wife understood. So I got to hold my son for a while and make sure I signed the birth certificate that he is mine, and here I am changing in the hospital restroom and putting my coaching gear on, and my brother giving me a ride to the game, to make it before kickoff. So it takes a strong woman to support you, stand by you on that, and it was a heck of a game, and everything happens for a reason, I guess. It happened a heck of a game. We didn't pull it off, but for as upset as I was, to drive back and getting dropped off at the hospital again to stay the night there, I get to hold my son, and, the loss kind of has to go away, because now you have this baby that you're responsible for, and so it's always been great lessons, man. And I guess a great situation to help you build towards becoming the best father you can be, and realize, the sun's going to come up. Yeah. Yeah. Wish we had that window. That would have been great.
Hey, yeah. There's a lot of them, all of them. We wish you'd get all of them.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we go to the 4th and 4? You good? You feel good about it?
Man. Oh, yeah. I feel good.
It's been a great talk so far, man. So don't screw this part up.
Well, I hope I don't.
All right. 2 minutes left. You got no timeouts, down 5 on the 50. 4th and 4. What's your thought process, personnel formation, and play?
Well, I'm probably going to spike the ball, kill the clock, then get this. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not right. Right? I'm sure it's happened.
It has happened. It has happened. It happened my freshman year of high school.
There you go.
It did, man. It felt so bad. Our quarterback was a stud, too. Stud baseball player. Man.
Well, I know it takes you back. It takes you back to when I was a freshman football player, and the coach is telling me, trying to explain to me about killing the clock. So I get the ball. I said, all right, quarterback, spike the ball. Okay. When I turn around and I spike it, behind me, he's like, no, it's got to be forward. I was like, oh, God, I had no idea. I got it. So, yeah, it's happened. You know what I mean? But no, I would probably I like our any kind of – I like the old sniffer back nowadays, the little sniffer back that we can bump back and forth. But I'd probably run some kind of rub play, some kind of sprint out, and give my quarterback an option to go. If it's there, it's there. Take it. If not, I have something working towards the sideline that we could get. And I've always liked sprint out because it's a high percentage play to me. Because it's one of those that always put the ball in the quarterback's hands to make on the move to make something happen. So I'd be some kind of pick play, sprint out, rub play to pick up that yardage.
Yeah, the Andy Reid special.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows it's coming. It's just how he has it dressed up that week, and they're sprinting out, and he's throwing that quick arrow route, flat route, whatever you want to call it,
man.
to the sideline.
Yeah, and I love that, man. And at the end of the day, you got the ball in the quarterback's hands, and let him go get it for you if he needs to.
And the way they teach it, too, going underneath the defender and at the last second setting up so the defender's got to go over the top.
Mm-hmm.
We use that concept a lot. That's probably one of our primary goal line concepts, 2-point play concepts. That's get the first down and fight another day, huh?
Yeah, and you're right, man. They may know it's coming, but it's either, drop in coverage or come get them, and either which way, I think the advantages in the offensive side there, with having the ball in the quarterback's hands to go, be your playmaker.
Okay. All right, man. Well, this has been a blast. This is my first one during the day. It's good to get down into the Valley audience, and there wasn't a better person to do it than you, man. We got to catch up more.
Well, I appreciate it, my brother.
You can find me on Twitter at Coach Lawrence FB. Don't forget about checking out our sponsor, Inside the Leather Shop, on Etsy. Type in podcast to save 20% off your purchase. Coach, where are you at on social media? I know you're a ghost, a big ghost, but you're a ghost. You're hard to find, dude.
Well, I'm pretty much off the grid. So one day I'll grow up and get some social media going and stuff like that. So it's my wife tells me I need to stop being a caveman and get to the times. So one of these days I'll get it done and I'll pass it along to you so you get it out there to the football world.
You got it, man. It's because you're so freaking handsome, dude. You got you don't want that. You don't want all that extra drama, the DMs.
Well, they tell me I got a face that only a mother can love, so that's it.
Well, we should have gone audio only, man. You got a face made for radio, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well.
All right, big dog.
All right,
Appreciate
brother.
it, man.
All right.
Later.
Later.